Welcome to something a little bit different. We are reviewing the XP Pen Artist 15.6 tablet today. Back when I was a gaming channel, I did the odd tech review, so I thought I'd trial an art-related product today, so be sure to let me know if this is the type of thing you're interested in more of in the future. Just to clarify, since YouTube is full of sponsored videos, this isn't sponsored. As per the norm, a review sample was provided, but there are no contracts in place, no money has exchanged hands, and I'm under no obligation to present this view with anything but full honesty. So let's dive in with some very basic information. This is the standard XP Pen Artist 15.6, not to be confused with the similarly named Pro model that has a few extra bells and whistles. Its current price on Amazon is £349, so it's very strongly undercutting Wacom's offerings of the same size that are often double the price, sometimes pushing into the thousands. This is very much a tablet for those looking to step up from the screenless alternatives without throwing too much cash around. As the name implies, it houses a 15.6-inch screen with a surrounding body, bringing it to about 44cm by 28cm, with a maximum thickness of 12.6mm or 1.26cm if you don't want me mixing units up. It's relatively light too, so as far as portability goes, there's no reason you couldn't throw this in a bag and take it back and forth to work or school with little issue. It's pretty sturdy, so should withstand some beatings. I managed to drop it during the filming process and it was just fine, so that's probably a good thing. The panel itself is a pretty standard 1920 by 1080 resolution. As someone who regularly works at 1440p and 4K, it did feel a little bit stifling to drop back down to 1080p, but considering the price point, it's probably unreasonable to expect more there. It is an IPS panel, so as far as viewing angles go, it's pretty solid. You can comfortably swap between working on a desk or on your lap with no drastic changes to the color or brightness. It's worth noting that unlike the Pro version, the standard offering doesn't come with any stand, so if you're looking to work on a desk at an angle, you'll need to pick that up separately. Out of the box, the color calibration on the panel isn't the greatest. Aside from excessive brightness, my sample leaned far too heavily into the blues. If you're interested in doing any sort of color sensitive work, you probably already own a calibration tool, in which case this issue is fairly easily solved with a few minutes of calibration. The tablet software offers a good bit of customization, and we'll touch on the extent of that later, but as far as color goes, it offers full RGB control, brightness and contrast, and overall color temperature. If a calibration tool is out of your price range at the moment, I personally found the 5000K preset brought me to roughly where my tool set me in the end. The screen itself has a matte coating, which although won't give you quite the same vibrancy as a glossy panel, it does provide you with a lovely bit of paper-like resistance that makes drawing on it feel great. If you're hooking this thing up for the first time, which for the record connects via USB-C to HDMI and regular USB, you'll likely need to calibrate it, which is a simple button within the aforementioned software. It's a 5-point calibration, it doesn't take long, and its results on the whole are pretty good. However, the panel itself sits a good few millimeters under that matte cover, which does lead to a common issue with these types of tablets: the parallax effect. It means that particularly towards the edges of the screen, your pen doesn't line up with your cursor unless you tilt it directly up above it. This can be solved by moving your tools slightly away from the edge, but it's not the most ideal solution. That's a bit of a shame, as drawing on the whole feels wonderful and responsive. There are 8,192 levels of pressure sensitivity here, so you have about as much control over your work as you could ask for. Within the software, you can also change the sensitivity curve, which is super handy for someone like me who's quite heavy-handed. I noticed minimal to no real wobble while drawing either, so precision has certainly not been a point of concern. After a few minutes of playing around, I was able to draw comfortably with almost no issues. The pen itself comes with a nice little stand and requires no batteries. As is mostly standard, there are 2 customizable buttons on the pen that, again, can be easily configured with the provided software. Strangely, there's no eraser on the end of the pen, so if that's built into your muscle memory, you may need to take some time to adjust. By default, one of the buttons on the pen is set to toggle between brush and eraser, which has always been my preference over physically flipping the pen over. On the subject of customizable buttons, there are 6 on offer on the tablet itself. Within the software, you can set these globally or on a program-to-program basis. It offers not only basic key presses, but also a combination of key presses, which is definitely handy if you've set up some custom commands that would otherwise be unusable. It also supports hold, so much like holding the spacebar to move the canvas canvas around in Photoshop, the same can be replicated by holding the button on the tablet. One feature I really liked is the ability to set programs to these buttons, which not only serves as a handy shortcut as far as opening them goes, but also works great for switching between programs on the fly. That's great if you're someone who likes to work full screen and doesn't like having to faff around coming out of that mode just to access something else. But that's about it as far as features and thoughts go. It's a pretty simple tablet, so let's quickly recap with some pros and cons. There are only two major negatives to me. The first is the color accuracy. It's not great out of the box, and even after calibration, it definitely leaves a lot to be desired as far as fidelity goes. Secondly, the aforementioned parallax effect is probably the biggest annoyance. Being forced to slightly shrink your work area to avoid that isn't the greatest solution ever. However, positives, and although I don't believe this excuses its flaws, the price point is seriously impressive. £350 for a remarkably competent tablet with a screen is certainly nothing to scoff at, and I think if you're on a budget, particularly if you're an amateur or a student, this is a nice low-cost entry into this type of product. You have heaps of customization, robust build quality, and very responsive drawing capabilities, all at a good size that's a nice medium between portability and usability. If you're a professional, you may want to look elsewhere, but this is definitely the strongest offering I've seen as far as entry level goes, and I have no issues recommending it. For more details on specs and pricing in your region, feel free to check out the description, but for now be sure to rate the video or leave a comment if you own this and feel I missed something or you just have your own 2 cents to add. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.